You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 142 of the Central India's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by co-host Dakota Davis, producer Chris Guffey, and...
Today's episode features Scott Frost and Mike Broyles. They are the landlords of our building. They're here to check in, make sure that we're keeping the place clean, and maybe we'll get our security deposit back. We'll find out at the end of the night. We are going to be talking to these two guys about Rose City Partners LLC, which is a group that they formed, and they have been rehabilitating old buildings in downtown Newcastle, doing a great job. Like we said, they rent out our space, and we are grateful to them for that. And we're going to be talking to them about what it takes to start taking ownership of these buildings, what red tape, if any, there is with the government involved in this process, and everything that goes into it. So make sure you stick around to the end to make sure we get our security deposit back.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. Hopefully you'll always learn something new. If you tuned into the live feed before we pressed record, you heard me butchering, not knowing the difference between the Highwaymen and the Traveling Wilburys. So it's unfortunate. It's a dark day in early 90s and late 80s country rock. That was bad. That was bad for me. Sad, really.
I have this weird...
But you didn't stop me.
No. I have
and
a weird...
neither did Mike. Mike was kind of nodding his head going along with me for a while.
I was like, Tom Petty. Because I just discovered the Highwaymen group like last week.
Really?
I didn't know. I didn't know about them.
Well, now you have to check out the Traveling Wilburys.
What I do in my spare time is watch Johnny Cash videos. I have a connection to Johnny Cash that I can't explain. We're naming my son after Johnny Cash.
Jackson.
Well,
we going
not
Jackson.
After this song. His name's Jackson River, and so JR is
not after the song that Johnny Cash sang. Is your next kid going to be named Nickajack Cave Davis?
No, it's not really after the song. It's just J.R. Cash and J.R. Davis. That's where the name came from, because Johnny Cash went by J.R. for most of his life until a producer told him that he should change it to Johnny. And yeah, he said that he should introduce himself on stage as Johnny Cash instead of J.R. Cash because it sounded more like an outlaw. Yeah. Anyway, that's your history lesson for the night. We have some people to thank, and those are the folks that support us on patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty. Those are the folks that make sure that we get these guys their paychecks on time every month. And you can support us at any level. It starts at $5 a month. You get all kinds of bonus content. It's
like Priceline.com. You just name your own price.
Yeah, that's
Key in the number you want to do.
We just recorded at like 25 minutes with Mike and Scott, and we talked about Jeremiah's weekend in Colorado. We talked about a weird thing that happens at the gym every morning with me. We're not going to get into that. And you get access to all that. You also get access to the show notes in advance of the show, so you know what we're talking about. And if you support us at $50 or more, then we give you a shout out on every episode. Those folks are Craig DaCosta from all the way in Hawaii, Jonathan Phillips, our favorite car salesman in Fishers, Indiana, Chris Lamb from the Newcastle Career Center, and Christy Avery from all the way in Fort Wayne, who is a big supporter of us and always has been. If you don't want to support us monthly, you can go to tchip.com/BHOL1, 2, or 3. Those are our merchandise stores. We have all kinds of goodies going on up there. And then we also have the hashtag Red for Rob shirts.
Just a couple weeks left.
Yeah, there's only 2 weeks left there. We have $100 that's going to the Newcastle Career Center from that fundraiser, so that's awesome.
One of my favorite things, the Red for Rob has gone iconic. One of Rob's fans or trolls, I haven't decided which, took a picture of Rob, took a picture of Donald Trump, drew it in portrait form, and
like a caricature.
Like a caricature, and he's wearing the Red for Rob shirt. So it's now a piece of MS Communications and WIBC history.
That's right.
If Dakota ever brings his back, we're going to have our Red for Rob shirt framed and put up on display.
Yeah, we'll have to find some guy that does framing around here.
Have to figure out how to make that work. Or we'll just staple it up on the wall.
Don't put any holes in the walls.
Some duct tape or super glue, maybe some adhesive.
We've been using command strips like crazy here, so
yeah, it works out. So yeah, the shirts are cool. Those are exciting. Got I did not wear mine today. The heat's working well in here, so I was able to wear my short sleeve today.
I just went with a classic tee.
Yeah, are you sponsored by Milwaukee? The
No,
Milwaukee Tool people, or what are you doing?
We should. This is this is just a really comfortable long sleeve t-shirt.
Is it a Gildan brand?
I don't know what it is. They were handing them out to us for free at our. We have a big it's called Safety Week. It's a cookout at work, and we talk about safety stuff, and we have to do all this other training. And a bunch of vendors and contractors come in, and Milwaukee gave out free T-shirts.
There you go.
They're
And
comfy.
that's all you value yourself for.
They're nice. Yeah.
We're kicking around the idea of some advertising. You got to have higher standards now.
Yeah.
You can't just go wearing brands if they're not paying for it. No. Giving away the farm over there, Davis.
Well, you know what? Maybe we should have Milwaukee sponsor this episode. Milwaukee Tools, everybody. Milwaukee.com. Those are the...
I think we're a Tungaloy family. All right. We got guests.
Yep. On the show notes, if you look here, it says guest introductions, and it says the Property Cousins. Do you guys go by that?
We haven't, but that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah. I'm already way ahead of the game and thinking about an HGTV reality show with you guys.
I guess it's all according to how it goes tonight, right?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I would love to be the actor that plays the part of the contractor. If we, for future use.
I'm just hopeful that the next thing that they develop is a brewery in this town.
That's what I was thinking. We've said it before on the show, largest city in the state of Indiana to not have a brewery.
I have talked to Mr. Wade from Mad Paddle, and he says he doesn't think Newcastle's quite ready for that yet.
Rushville seems to be. I don't know what's wrong with Newcastle.
Well, it's not open yet. We'll see how that goes, but I'm anxious to see that happen.
Yeah. I have heard rumors of multiple different breweries. I've heard of Guardian in Muncie having a satellite location here. I've heard of Indiana City. And then I've also heard of, what's the one that our friend, Mr. Bruno, worked at?
The folks at Chilly Water were looking.
Chilly Water.
We took a little Newcastle tour one night, so
yeah,
you never know. Somebody's going to get here. I think whoever gets here first is going to win. So tell your brewery friends. I don't care who it is, but they better have a good stout or porter.
But see, Mike, you have a history of entrepreneurship. You guys both do. You guys can surely wing something up. I mean, we know Sean Rouse so well.
They don't want to come to work every day.
Being the boomers that we are, we've been through all that.
That's right. You're living there.
They're just looking for their Social Security checks and have you keep working there, David.
We're stretching it with these buildings. My wife says we're done, but Scott and I both say, nah, there's at least one more in there.
Can always get another one.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. You are. I have here lifelong Newcastle resident. Was I correct?
Yes.
That was a good guess.
63 years.
63 years living in the city of Newcastle. You also owned Magna Machine and Tool.
Yeah, I was part owner with Eugene Weaver out of Hagerstown. We got the opportunity to buy in from the original owners, Dick Cooley and Marion Shore. Worked out very well. I started out as a machinist, and my theory is they asked me to go out on the road in sales because I wasn't a very good machinist.
That happens. And that happens a lot.
And it worked out great for me. So
those who can't do sell.
Pretty much. As long as you can put together sentences and don't make terrible math decisions, it pretty much works out okay. If you're somewhat likable.
One of the current owners up there now, his son was the best man at my wedding. Yeah. Trevor Henshaw. Yeah, that's right. So, and then we also have another business owner who is the cousin of Mike. You guys are both cousins and own Rose City Partners. You are also a resident of Newcastle. Is that lifelong?
Lifelong, yeah.
Oh. And you also own a business here in the city, right?
Frost Framing up on Indiana. I've been there, it'll be 10 years in January. So I worked in Muncie, a tool shop, for almost 30 years. And then kind of retired out of there, or they didn't need me anymore. So I do sort of a part-time thing with the frame shop, which is nice half-day thing to do when you're my age. So
you used to do all of the framing for my wife's artwork whenever she was in 4-H.
there you go.
Yeah.
I thought the 4-Hers were supposed to do that themselves. You're responsible for a lot of blue ribbons, Scott.
Yeah, there you go. I think the 4-H stuff is just matting, but they have to be,
There's certain dimensions they have to
they do. They have to
achieve.
fit a tight dimensional deal.
So the chat's wondering, there's some folks from Richmond that are in here saying, I thought Richmond was Rose City. What are you guys doing calling yourself Rose City? For those that don't know or are sampling and don't know the history of Newcastle and the Roses, who wants to explain why y'all are Rose City Partners?
Rose City Partners came from the first building we bought, which was Rose City
Sheet metal.
Sheet metal. But Rose City for Newcastle and Richmond, I think there's always been a competition. Newcastle was at the American Beauty Rose that was here.
Right.
And Richmond also claimed they had roses that were unique. And
So the American Beauty rose was this like 3-foot long stemmed rose that
Very
was
unusual.
grown in greenhouses in Newcastle.
Correct.
So the legacy is that we have all kinds of things in this community that are named Rose City, and we also have a bunch of stuff called Rain Tree for a different reason. But the bowling alley is still Rose City. You guys are Rose City. There was a sheet metal place. I know there used to be a packing, like a beef packing or an animal packing plant,
Right.
And probably a number of other Rose City titled businesses in our community.
Correct. I think the Rose City original Rose, I forget where it was, a World's Fair, but won quite a few awards, and they were shipped
Right.
all over the world back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, I believe. And Newcastle used to have quite a few greenhouses.
Lots of greenhouses.
Along where the Armory is, along 15th Street, almost to A Avenue, that was all greenhouses. Close to where I used to live on Circle and Park,
those are greenhouses.
that was all greenhouses down to Audubon.
All for roses?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And then at some point there was a tornado, correct?
17 took out quite a
1917.
few
Yeah, that was part of it.
of the greenhouses, and they just didn't rebuild. And it got pretty competitive, I believe.
Plus the damn Rose Parade shows Pasadena over
think,
Newcastle
yeah.
and
Newcastle Rose Parade.
Yeah. We didn't build a Rose Bowl or, the big Rose Bowl. Like we chose a bowling alley instead of a football field. And then, and that was really the downfall of the whole thing.
I was like 19 or 20 before I found out that the Rose Bowl wasn't just the bowling alley. Shows you how much I pay attention to sports.
It's where Purdue gets to play once every 30 years and IU never has.
Whoa. Scott's with you on that one. But
Am I right?
There you go. The Purdue part, yeah.
When I start making stuff up, Scott, you stop
There
me.
you go.
All right.
So you
I'm
got-
pulling for you. I've got a Newcastle guy coaching IU football, but we're not there yet.
maybe the next couple of years, made some huge strides. So
Big improvement.
So Rose City Partners LLC came from the Rose City Sheet Metal.
Rose City Sheet Metal, which is the building right next to you here. Which,
Oh, okay.
Edward Jones, Erica Hayes is in there now.
Yeah.
We started out, we had a gentleman come in that wanted to open up a vape store. And he was in there for about a year and a half.
The Coyote
No.
Vape guy.
It was less than a year.
Less than a year.
Yeah.
They changed the law and threw him out, didn't they?
Yeah.
He got hosed.
Well, I think from our understanding, he had a plant out east that did the chemicals. So when they changed the law, you had to make the chemicals at an approved site here in Indiana.
Yep.
So
There-
that took away a lot of his profit, and he saw the writing on the wall that. And he knew when he started it up that it was going to be a short-term thing. He was thinking more 10 years.
He did have other shops before he came to Newcastle.
Yeah, they were in Muncie first, right next to Greek's
right,
Pizzeria.
Right. And I think maybe Richmond or over that way. He had one. But
Yeah.
So you guys basically have been identifying buildings that we'll say distressed, and typically in the downtown area, and have found opportunities to not just to flip them, but you've done something a little bit more special with them. Is that right?
yeah, we haven't flipped any. We've kept all the ones we started with.
Right.
But the idea, if you can find one that's in a certain amount of distress, you can not have a lot of money in it to begin with, and take your time with it. We didn't rush anything. We took our time with every building and make something nicer out of something that was, in a couple of cases, we took over buildings that were in bad enough shape to where if they'd have set another couple of years, they might have been unfixable.
So is that one thing that you've seen a lot? Is it mainly just aesthetic work, or is it do you run into a lot of structural problems as well?
Some of it has been structural. The first building had a bad floor in it from a roof in the ceiling that went the roof all the way down through to the basement. We had work to do in the basement structurally, and our second building, same thing.
Yeah, the first building is the one that kind of got us started. Scott's cousin on his dad's side was kind of looking for a place to start a business, and she asked Scott to come down and take a look at it. And Scott asked Patty and I, said, "Come talk me out of this."
That's what I said.
You found yourself a partner is what accidentally happened, isn't it?
No, it wasn't too hard to talk him out of it. But then a couple of gentlemen here in town said, "Go down and take a look at this building on Broad Street." And we negotiated with them for a little bit and got it down to where we thought we could do something with it. And that turned out real well. It was probably in the worst shape of any of them in some ways.
Yeah.
We did have to put a new roof on the complete building, but the inside was pretty much brick, had 5 rooms built up in front that had been remodeled numerous times. When we started demoing, you found another ceiling after you got the first one down. And but the brick was painted in the building, and we had a guy come in from out near Markville to sandblast it. And he looked at it. He said, "How far you want it?" And we said, "Well, if we get 50% of the paint off, we'll be happy." And I drove by one day after he started.
This is the exterior.
Yes, the interior of the building. And I drove down Broad Street and up about 12th and Broad. I thought, man, the building's on fire. And it's just all the dust. He had all the doors open, and all that dust was
Oh my gosh.
coming out every door over there. But he got it off 100%. And it's a nice looking building back there.
Yeah. Luckily, we both had the same state of mind, I guess. We both went into that building and looked at it and said something nice could be here. We saw what it could be. So we had other people come in and look at it with us and looked at it and said, "Why would you ever buy this?" But it worked out well.
In fact, your cousin came down. It would have been a nice size building for her, and
she couldn't see
it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I don't know if maybe you have a memory of what these buildings were before, or if you can just see through 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years worth of what you're calling remodeling, where people have partitioned or added to it, and you get away from the original character that was in a building, but you have a vision for what some of these used to look like.
Yeah. Scott's got
or can
a little bit
like.
more of the history side, but I kind of grew up down here. I grew up about 2 blocks north of here on 10th Street. And my grandfather had the city newsstand, which was at 12th and Broad, where the Henry County EMS is now. So I was in and out of there from kindergarten through 3rd grade when I lived down here. And then we always roamed around town too. 2nd, 3rd grade. You wouldn't let your kids do that now, but that was just normal back then. We went through every store downtown. So I love the downtown part of it and would love to see it back the way it was then. It's probably not going to happen, but we've made great strides in Newcastle getting our downtown. I don't know where you guys had the chance to go to the Christmas walk or not, but it was fantastic. The crowd that was down.
I heard it was way beyond anything it had ever been before. The Christmas walk happened.
We were doing a show
during the show last week.
That's right.
But I know from the traffic that I had to go through to get to the studio that it was impressive.
Yeah, I never saw that many people downtown from, you got to go back to the, 40, 50 years ago to see people walking around downtown like that. So
it was really nice that they were able to close down Broad Street.
Yeah.
So you were just able to walk down Broad Street and enjoy it. And
so I was going to say, Scott, you were, whenever we were talking about this building and us moving in here, I know you were really into digging up the history of this place, finding out what it was before and whenever it was originally built and all of those different things. Because there is a really neat compressor right below our seats in the basement. And so I was just curious about What's one thing that sticks out in your mind from any of the properties that you guys have done so far?
Well, you're talking about this one and what it was at the Yukon restaurant going back to the 30s and 40s into the 60s. But you're talking about this entire little corner of the of downtown. It was, if you go back to the late 1800s, it was a gentleman that moved here from Ohio and started a carriage shop. And he actually fought in the Civil War and learned the carriage work from his family, moved here, married a woman in Newcastle, and started his own business here in the corner. So it's fun to find out stuff like that. That's part of the fun of it, the old buildings and what's been on this site before. And
yeah, for sure.
So is that what you think these doors behind us were originally?
no, this building wasn't a part of that. We think maybe from the old maps we found, we think maybe the Edward Jones building was a part of his carriage business. But these buildings that we're in now were later on. This one maybe was built in the 20s, we think, possibly.
Yeah.
This block of Broad Street was very heavily automotive, so we're not sure.
A lot of auto dealerships were down here back up until the 1960s, I would somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Is that
pretty much correct? O.M. Lee Chevrolet was just up the block where the Three Rivers or Solid Waste District is now.
Which is why some of these buildings have the big vehicle doors for showrooms.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we get asked quite often, Jeremiah and I both, is if the door behind us is a backdrop, if it's fake.
Right.
And everyone always asks that, and we're like, no, actually, whenever you guys discovered it, it was like we were on an episode from an HGTV show where it was like,
exactly.
it was like, we're the guys working on the place we're wanting to rent. They called and have some questions, and so we come in expecting something horrible, and you guys go, "You guys want to keep this door?" And we're like, "Yes."
Yeah, we were 100%. Crossing our fingers that you would because we loved it. And
yep, absolutely.
It showed the history. The other neat story was the second the second building that we bought on 14th Street, 208 South 14th, where Barnett Company is now. When we started investigating it was the original Henry County Savings and Loan.
Henry County Building
Loan.
Building Loan, yeah.
And Mariana had the photographs of it up in their main office on Broad Street. And we got to looking at those. And they eventually gave them to us when they closed down the main office there. Scott's got them up at his office. But the original beams from the first photograph we have is 1916. And the original beams on the ceiling are still there. They'd been painted, so we stripped those and brought them back. But the photograph of the front of the building, you can see the shadow of the photographer. He's got the old style camera with
the
hood over him and everything.
That's
you
really
can see
neat.
that in the reflection. And the hours on the building were like 8 to 11 and noon to 4. And then Saturday, they were open in the evening, wasn't it?
Yeah, Saturday evening, he would open it, 6 to 9 or something, because the idea we figured was it was just people coming into town, from the county in the early 1900s, and that's when they would need access to a bank, or I think
when they did all the shopping, the farming community came into town and everything on Saturdays.
Yeah, we got a shot of the front of the building. It looks pretty much like it does now. That building does, as far as the brickwork and the windows and the doors. So.
And that seems to be something as a theme of the way you've redeveloped these buildings is you've gone back to the original brick and trying to be traditional. You're not adding to the buildings. You're going back to similar roof lines, similar trim work.
You're restoring them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But when we find, it's always nice.
You don't like vinyl siding.
There you go. We took it off of this building. Yeah, it was nice to find that door that's behind you, and it's nice to find transom windows above that are hidden by brick or outer
or vinyl siding
on the outside, and lower ceilings on the inside where they used to conceal them because I guess it was heating problem or something. They didn't want the high ceilings back then, but we like exposing the old doors and the brick on the wall, which maybe necessarily wasn't supposed to be exposed. Maybe it was plastered to begin with, but it's a nice look to find the brick walls.
It's definitely traditional now. Folks like it. I will say, as the building, as work gets done upstairs, the brick, the paint comes off the brick and the mortar comes off the brick, and we have a little pile to sweep up every week as things go along. So
some of that was construction on this door and up above. Yeah, we saw quite a bit of dust.
We're taking a week off on Christmas, and I'll be in here with my shop vac, making sure that it's good and deep cleaned.
Yeah, the bank building, all the brick was covered up by plaster, and that was a fun experience trying to hold a hammer drill up on a scaffolding and taking all that plaster off of, and that's probably, we took off 70 foot.
Yeah, one side inside.
The building's 12 foot wide by 70 foot long and only one story, so kind of a neat building.
It used to be an alley. They just created a building by putting a roof across and using the two walls.
Using the other two buildings.
The two buildings walls. So we were exposing the brick, which is actually the outside of David Nance's building, which became the inside of our building with the brick. So, yeah.
So have you had any, like, oh my God, we're hosed on this project moments, and any of you've done 4 buildings now or 3?
This is the fourth.
This is the fourth.
And fifth. Well, this is the 4th one.
Yeah.
And we own the building next door, but haven't done anything on it yet. Probably
nothing that's caused you to go, oh, this is too much.
The first one, we actually negotiated a price to buy the building after we got them down to a certain level with the condition that we go in and inspect it more thoroughly. And we did find problems in the basement that we were surprised by. So we thought, well, do we just back out completely, or do we make another offer and get it down to where we can put the money into the basement? And that was one of those surprise moments. But luckily they came down and we ended up with the building. So
we thought maybe it was a baptismal pool or something down in the basement. Yeah. We got down there, and it's probably got a 5-foot ceiling height, so you can walk down there. But then there was an area that just was full of water, and we started trying to find pieces of wood and stuff that we could stick down there, and it's probably 3.5 foot deep, full of water. So once we got that pumped out, there's steps down into it too, but it was probably where the original boiler for the building was, and they'd had a fire in there in the basement sometime. So a lot of the back portion of the building, the floor had been replaced. They had some water problems back on the southwest side and rotted out all that floor. So there wasn't any hand holding that concrete floor up structurally. So we had to get down there. We brought some contractors in. They had different ideas about how to do it. And finally we put new beams up there and supports. And that was a little scary for our first project.
So as you're getting into these, you obviously have to have city permits, and the city's getting involved in the projects. Are they working with you on saying, hey, here's how we want to tackle it? Or do they just say, yep, sounds good to us, go for it? How does that, not knowing it going into these, are they a partner with you? You feel like you're kind of, how's that relationship?
I think they've become partners. I think on the first one, we were pretty much on our own as far as, when do you need permits? You don't need them for demo.
You don't need for aesthetic work.
Yeah, we put the dumpster outside on Broad Street. We had a local citizen kind of complaining about that being on 3. Did they get any permits from the state or the city? And so
Did you at that point, did you just weld a license plate on it and say it's a legal vehicle? Shut up.
We went and bought some cones and put out there to kind of help out, and we got it filled up pretty quick and got rid of that, then moved the next one to the back of the building. No, the city has been very good. And once we did the first building, I think we gained their trust in us. So the rest of the buildings have been pretty good. The Burnett and Company, we ran into some state approvals, mainly because she was wanting to put some cooking equipment back there. And then you start finding out if you just have ovens, it's not too bad. If you want deep fryers, you have to have exhaust fans, you have to go through more red tape, but it all goes to Homeland Security now.
What business is it of theirs, Mike?
Good question. But that's where everything runs our restrooms even had to be handicap accessible.
Oh, yeah.
We learned that in this building.
So we've
got a massive restroom in this one.
way oversized. And that's the same way. Well, in the Barnett and Company, we got a 12-foot wide building, 70-foot long, and we used an eighth of it for a restroom. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
But all that has to go through Homeland Security, and it's about anywhere from a 3 to 6 week process to get those approvals done before you can start building that stuff.
And is that just because it's a commercial property?
That's because
Public access.
the restroom is, yes, but the more difficulty with her was because she was making cookies back there and had the ovens and all.
Right.
Of it.
She had cooking equipment.
And luckily she had, from early on, she rented it from us. We knew she was going to be in there, and she did a lot of that work with the government and with getting everything taken care of.
Okay.
We didn't have to, so.
But the restrooms are commercial. That's one thing that they've made us go back.
And it's that building. That's not what they do at that building now, right? Barnett.
Yeah, they do the cookies back.
Okay.
there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That one. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's correct.
Especially cookies for events and everything.
Great cookies.
Yeah.
Barnett and Company. Reach out to us.
There you go. Sponsor.
I will definitely sponsor.
Be very receptive
Yeah.
to a sponsorship. Is what you're trying to say. You're going to sponsor them. You're going to sponsor.
No. They can sponsor us, and I will eat cookies on the air.
She can get you a T-shirt with her name on it.
Yes.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
I'll trade out my Milwaukee shirt.
There you go.
So it's been a very interesting process. And the other thing that has helped us, the RDC, Redevelopment Corporation, they do some matching grants on, it started out facades. If you were changing a facade, they would match up to $15,000. And then the more we talked to them, and I think the mayor talked to them some too, that the roofs are the main problems in downtown Newcastle. They're just not maintained, and then they start causing all kinds of
And
problems.
if you don't take care of the roof, then the rest of the building is going to go at some point.
You're done. And that's been the problem with two of the buildings. They needed roofs badly.
Two of our buildings, yes.
And so at some point along, they've raised that up to $25,000 match. I think they ought to go to some type of formula going by square footage. So, if you buy one of the 3-story buildings downtown or 2-story buildings that take up a block depth,
Right. It's not going to get you.
25,000 is a drop in the bucket.
So where are we at in the grand plan of getting the mural of Dakota and I put on this wall over here so that people coming into downtown can recognize us?
I want it.
How's
I
that?
want it.
How
I'm
is
going
that
to let
coming
Scott
along?
answer that.
Scott, I want it. I want it Leninist style. Old USSR era.
I know what you're saying.
With this, I want the starburst behind my head.
We've just exposed that brick on the west side.
Yeah, I want
We
it to
found the
say.
old brick.
I want it to say. Podcasters of the world
There you
unite.
go. There you go. I don't think,
But there has been talk about murals. What is there a bunch of red tape to go through for something like that?
That's why I passed it over to Scott to
well,
Oh, okay.
that's a little bit. I'm on the historical preservation board for downtown. So,
Okay.
And murals have come past us, and we've been. I think we were a little more lax before, and I think we're getting a little more strict as far as what we want or what the content of the
Is it
mural.
because you've had complaints of the Robert, Indiana one by the library that says 666?
No.
Oh.
No,
That's,
I've been really surprised there's been no complaints.
That's famous
about that.
pop art. Do your
you go.
research, buddy.
I know it's famous. I know the history behind it, but I figured that someone like, some of these people that we all
It says
know
eat and die.
walking down the street would see that and be like, I can't believe that. I can't believe that they would allow that in my city.
No, the last murals were what's the tavern here up
Downtown.
The town
downtown
tavern.
tavern. Yeah, the last ones went on there, so we approved those, but that was a little bit of a difficult situation to get that all worked.
The
out,
youth
but-
community loves them because eventually somebody comes back around and makes it a Pokestop, Chris, and then it becomes a gym and a Pokestop. And
That's very correct.
People benefit.
Do people still play Pokemon Go?
Oh yeah, there's avid players, very avid players.
Seem up by Baker Park every now and then.
Baker Park,
Yeah.
then you see them at the Arts Park, and a lot of downtown, and a lot of the murals downtown are Pokestops, man.
That's what
And so
happens.
then people
They
will
become
stop
landmarks.
and then they look at them and then they admire them and then
I think Rushville has 2 great murals on their buildings.
They got the
one-
Wendell Wilkie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
the Wilkie one's awesome.
The corn company Pioneer did the one
Yep.
on the
Right at their
Farmers Market.
Yep,
Yeah.
their new farmers market down there.
very well done. And that's the thing. I think if they're well done and has some tie to the history of Newcastle.
Yeah, that's
I think it's
We really just want one with.
you keep bringing this up.
We really just want one.
I mean,
that
it's the number one podcast in all of East Central Indiana. I
we
don't
want
know
it-
what else.
We want the 2 of us, and we want a giant sign that says "Welcome to Newcastle, home of Boss Hog."
I'd like the 2
There
of
you go.
us, and then I'd like Chase and Cade and Chris and Mason, just in small.
That's a
little
lot of
smaller in
small-
the background.
small-
I'd
Yeah.
say just the 2 of us.
Much smaller. I mean, I would settle for just the 2 of us, but I'd
Yeah.
like to include the other guys.
Starting the negotiations
yeah.
with all of us.
if you include your 2 landlords, I think.
Yeah, I
you
mean
have a-
that's possible
There we go.
too. Looking down from on high, I think that would be like looking over a little railing or something down at us,
Yeah.
cheering us
Yeah.
on.
There are some. I don't want to call them strict, but some rules as far as signage
Yeah,
on your windows and your signage
you have
on
to,
the front of your buildings. Like they
there's
don't want.
there's another ring to kiss if you want to have signage that protrudes outside of the building, right?
Not so much protruding, but like, well, I think they were talking at their last meeting about the box lights, like backlit fluorescent with the plastic fronts. You know, they tend not to like those downtown.
I think those are restricted downtown.
The
Like-
blade signs, well, I think Lewis Insurance just put up some blade signs. I think those go pretty well.
Those are fine.
Yeah.
It's just
What about
everyone
anything
stick
with
to neon.
Is neon okay? If we have custom neon blown and lit,
I think it said our rules say backlit is restricted, and they were. It came up in our last meeting that there's a type of sign that's called halo lit, where each letter is kind of lit behind it, and you
Yeah,
get that
that's
kind of
our
effect.
sign in the front here.
There you go.
It is a halo.
There you
it's
go.
a live on air type.
It's more like something Stephen Vitito, you know, the laser cut metal. Then it has the LED behind it, so it kind of shadows that a little bit and highlights
And
the
we,
letter.
yeah, we were discussing whether that was the backlit restriction stopped that, and we didn't. We were
I think
hoping
the
it did.
back-
You can fix that at any time. You can always choose freedom, Scott.
The backlit restrictions probably comes from light shining and too harshly into the street and things.
Well, and the fluorescent lights and the old plastic signs.
Yeah.
That looks kind of cheap
Like-
and old.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old Coke signs that used to be. I think that's what they're considering
Yeah.
backlit.
Oh, okay. What?
Travis Ham is in the chat, and he says that he's thinking like a Mount Rushmore style mural with the Boss Hog hosts and co-hosts on there.
That would look pretty good.
Yeah, that's a
would
great.
look good.
That'd be a good idea.
I like that.
As long as I get to be where Abe was, I'm pretty happy.
Good job, Travis.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea.
Maybe down in Murphy Park with all the other art stuff down there.
Not here though.
I mean, listen, if that's where the negotiation settles, and they have to put me down there at Armory Park or Murphy Park, that's
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I said it was probably stuff to do with Newcastle history. So in 20 or 30
making
years.
history right here.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
in
right.
20 or 30
20
years.
or 30
I mean-
years will be the history. Yeah.
Nobody expected us to make it 142 episodes.
We're glad you're still here.
So, what has been your guys' favorite building that you've done so far? Absolute favorite.
Probably the first one, just because of what it was to begin with and what we turned it into. I mean,
Yeah.
And the first time through, we didn't know if we could do it or anything we were doing was new and unique. And you get kind of proud of yourself the way it turns out. And I think the first one to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
Probably the same for me because I had my grandson. He was 3 years old at the time. And he would spend a lot of time up there with us and running and getting stuff. Or if he got bored, we just put a couple 2x4s down and screws and nails in there, and he would start playing with that and hammering.
Family time.
So, yeah, got to spend a lot of time with him. And then he followed us on to the next 2 buildings a little bit. He didn't get a chance to do much up here because he's in school now.
He was doing a little demo in the back here, if I remember. He was helping us tear down these walls where we're sitting was
Yeah.
3 or 4
offices
little
back here.
offices. Yeah.
I probably had him doing stuff he shouldn't have been doing. OSHA would get on me or.
Still got all his fingers and toes, right?
Well, yeah, he was scraping up at the cookie building. He
It's
was,
just like we always say, child labor laws are ruining this country.
They don't apply to family. That's the important thing.
He was scraping up the tile there that probably had asbestos in there to run, but his mom okayed it.
As long as it's non-friable, right?
That was a fun one. And each of them have been different in their own way. And the fortunate thing, we had leasees very quickly in the process on all of them. So that's made things a lot simpler. So I think there's a demand downtown.
And when you're doing that, you're working with a partner as well. So you're developing. When we worked together on this building, it was a teamwork kind of a deal where you had a goal and you knew what the future tenant was going to be looking for in the building.
Exactly.
As well.
And same thing with the Barnett Company. She got involved pretty early, and we did a lot of things that she wanted special. And restroom was a lot fancier than what we would have done, and some of the lighting and stuff like that.
But to tie that in, that was the first building that I looked at. My cousin wanted me to look at was the building we ended up buying after we learned that we were good enough at it to do the Edward Jones building. So it was nice to.
So eventually you went back, and that was what became the Barnett building.
Yeah.
After we had a little experience and knew that, even though we can see the sky through the roof, it's not undoable.
Doing a roof anyway, so what the hell?
And we did a lot up there. The floor where it was rotted out, we tore the hardwood out of the back of where the kitchen was going to be. We knew the flooring was going to be different there, so we took a lot of that flooring, moved up to the front, and spliced it in.
Oh, nice.
And that was fun doing that. It was tedious, but a lot of fun to do.
It's a beautiful building. You guys did a great job.
You've gotten into the woodworking and everything, I know, and
we ran into that at our house that we remodeled in downtown Newcastle, where actually there were people living there whenever sections of the subfloor, which is also the hardwood finish floor because it was built in 1914, it was gone. It was ripped up in front of two of the bedrooms, and they lived that way with the floor joists exposed. And we ran into that problem trying to find matching pieces, and it's a major headache. But everything looks beautiful whenever it's done. Yeah. So it makes it worth it in the end. Have any plans to buy something new?
Well, as I said, my wife says no, but Scott and I are always thinking about different things.
Doesn't she have good memories of the Castle Theater? Movies she's watched, things she's done down there. I mean,
I actually
live plays.
Yeah, I actually remember going there when I was pretty young.
I can hook you up with Sean Rao.
Yeah.
And we can, get a tenant for that building as well with him opening a brewery.
I had the opportunity to go in there when it was a large baptismal pool. And when you sold up to the floor joist, I thought, man, this is bad. So I know it's went through quite a process to dry it out.
Yeah. It would be a neat building for something like that, a brewery or a brewery / entertainment venue, another restaurant or something. But it is going to take an extreme amount of work to get it to that place.
I was in our dear leader, Chris Spangle, our syndicator's here this week. One of the contributors to the We're Libertarians podcast was talking about wanting to buy a theater up in Tipton, I think. Tipton or Anderson, Elwood, somewhere up there. There was a theater for sale. And I said, why don't you buy the one in Newcastle? Yeah. By the way, it comes with a couple storefronts. We could get some live shows going on over there. You never know.
That's right.
There's all kinds of options.
Comedy club.
You could dream up all kinds of stuff. I've watched Donnie Baker sell out the theater in Shelbyville. I went to that. And it was
the Armory.
packed. I think he did 2 shows.
He also did the Armory and the Arts Park here, right?
Yeah, I think
he did the Armory. I don't remember the Arts Park.
I think
he did the Arts Park as well.
I think you could do like 6 Donnie Baker shows a year alone.
There is
in this town.
There is a comedy show that our friend Justin Juice Kelly from Juice in the Morning, he's hosting at the Raintree Inn.
Early January.
Yeah, that would be a great spot for that as well.
I'm really excited for that, by the way. Are you going to go? Great. Have you committed? Are you hard committed to go?
It depends on how committed you think checking going is on a Facebook.
I mean, that's a contract.
Yeah, it would be neat. It'll be really cool to go. I haven't been to the Raintree Inn since my junior year of prom.
I don't think I've been to the Raintree Inn since I was probably either middle school or early high school doing a GOP speech contest. So it's been a very long time since I've been in that room.
Because they let you in the bar at that age?
I feel like it was a restaurant space.
Yeah, they did have the restaurant space.
Yeah, they
the
did.
bar was up front.
Yeah.
I want to say 2.5 years ago, wedding reception. I was there.
It's been a very long time. Very long time. So I'm excited to get back and to listen to some local comedians come through. It's going to be some fun.
But talking about the castle, there was a lot. The very last note on here was talking about the city of Newcastle and how Mayor York was talking about purchasing the Castle Theater. You guys,
That was not true. That was a lie. And
There was
Terrible reporting, bad reporting by the Courier Times. That was what was said in the council meeting. I'm just saying.
We only report what the mayor says himself. No, but there was talk about the city or Newcastle Main Street, whoever, trying to acquire that building and have something done with it. Since you guys have done this multiple times, do you think that's something that the city could manage?
No, I don't know that that's the city's purpose to manage places like that.
They struggle to get lids on trash cans.
No, I think it's a good opportunity for somebody. I still think they're a little high on that, but maybe I'm not thinking about the old furniture building with that. But you've got a lot of square footage in the parking lot behind. There's some opportunities there. It's just going to take somebody that's willing to put out that much money. I mean, right now I think it's $165,000 or something.
They're asking $165,000, and last I checked, I think the property taxes were $10,000 a year.
Well, we have had a little bit of problem with property taxes, and it's pretty easy to go up and voice your argument.
You just kick Darren Jacobs in the shins.
It doesn't actually go through Darren on that, but we thought one was a little bit too high, and we went up and explained what happened when we did the one on Main Street. We did actually the facade of two buildings. One was State Farm and one was ours, but it was originally one building. So
and you think you were
bring
getting
it back
taxed on both buildings? Do you think at that time you were getting taxed for both buildings?
Well,
that's the tax on the improvements.
Yeah, we went to the RDC and got the money and sort of did it for State Farm, and then they paid us back. So I think maybe we got caught into too much of the improvement.
Yeah.
So rather than half the improvement on the front. So it worked out. It came down a little bit, but it's still higher than it was when we bought it, obviously, because we made a better spot there. We have put quite a bit of money in it.
They got to get their pound of flesh, man.
Yeah.
Well, it was $3,000 a year and $2,500 a year for many, many years, as far back as you can go on Beacon, and until last year, and then all of a sudden it jumped up to 10. So I'm sure that you could make a pretty easy argument as to why you need to lower that.
And that's kind of like my wife and I were a little bit interested in the old Main Source Bank building. She worked there for years. We thought about that was when we were kind of thinking about downsizing from our home. That wouldn't have been downsizing exactly, but we both had this vision of living upstairs and doing something downstairs retail wise. I don't know what that would have been, but she knew the building well. It had been maintained well by Main Source. But then when you looked at the taxes, just unbelievable. The price of the building was, I think at that time they were asking $229, $237, something like that for it.
And that building somehow has become the counties?
No, it's been purchased by a
privately. Okay. Because that was involved in the trade for this other building that's available. Storage space in that building?
No, the trade was the Hoosier Antiques building down where it would be the end of the 1400 Plaza.
No, what you're thinking about, Jeremiah, is they're wanting to
use some storage for this annex building.
I think he was just talking about
from us.
They were talking about storing that for hardly anything, like $1 a year or something.
But that's not county owned. It's privately. That building is privately owned. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Private LLC now. And I don't know exactly what they have planned for that, but I think it'll be some kind of retail restaurant, something. So
time will tell.
Yeah.
All right, Dakota, I think we're getting there. Ready to start making our loop here?
Yeah, I think so.
Final thoughts, closing statements.
We marked everything
things
off
we
on
might
the
have
show
forgotten.
notes. that you can get a copy of the show notes if you join at patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty.
You've been teasing everybody that you were going to give out a copy of these for free, and I don't know what's happening.
Well, listen. I got this note.
Did you hear how defensive he got with me, Scott?
I
felt it.
I went and upgraded my phone from a Google Pixel 2 to a Galaxy Note 10 Plus. And at this point, I don't open my laptop until we get to the show. It stays in the car. I have no use for it now except for to stream our show because I can do literally everything on this. It has 12 gigs of RAM on this phone. That is like 4 more than my first laptop.
Don't you want to live with multiple screens? Maybe it's because I'm the oldest millennial in the world, but I like dual screens. I love 2 monitors.
Well, I mean, I have a work laptop that I have to use for work.
Yeah.
So I use that. But, I mean, for this, no. I will need it in campaign season to make campaign signs for folks, but that's it. That's all it's going to be used for.
The only reason you have it.
My mom was asking me the other day, what do you have in your hand there? I said phone, and my wife had one too, and she asked how much they were, and I told her, and she just shook her head,
Yeah, the way that I got this on Black Friday, and it was a super good deal, but it was, I pay, $600 to $800 for my Xbox, and it gets turned on, once in every night so I can watch YouTube videos while I go to sleep.
You can get a Chromecast for $25 to do the same thing.
Right. And occasionally a good video game will come out like Red Dead Redemption 2 and I will play it on there. But, I paid the same amount for my phone and I use it infinitely more times than that.
Yeah, you got to have it in your hand anymore.
I bought this Motorola and I figured out that if I can forego having an incredible camera, I can get all of the phone performance I need for about $150.
Hey, but you can play video games on your Motorola.
I sure can. Yeah. I don't play phone games on my phone anyway, but I could. We'll do it later. It'll play Pokemon Go. I know that
because my Pixel 2 had 6 gigabytes of RAM, and it would still lag and stall with PUBG.
I can get 90% of the performance for 10% of the price with this phone.
I believe that,
and that works great. And the battery in this thing is off the charts. So I'm a heavy user. I got half battery.
Totally agree with you that for the vast majority of people, that is all they need.
That's all you need. If you can deal with having an inferior picture, photograph,
buy a camera.
Yeah, but just buy a $100 camera and stick it in your pocket. All right, producer Chris, final thoughts. What you got for me?
Well, you went on your little weekend trip, and so I am now going on a weekend trip. This weekend, I will be in St. Louis.
You're going to go to the Busch Anheuser-Busch Brewery?
I don't know if that's on the agenda.
Do the big old tour?
I have no clue. The girlfriend and
world's second largest
her
brewery.
Family's planning all this, so I'm.
This is
family trip. It's getting serious now.
Have you studied for this? Have you got talking points ready?
No, I don't have those. I'm pretty good.
Do you have separate rooms?
No, we're staying at.
This is real serious. Then.
Yeah, we're staying at her aunt's. So yeah, we're going out there.
So you're sleeping on the couch.
Who knows where I'm sleeping?
Have I ever
just take your cot from home?
Of my
hey,
you have a travel cot?
I do.
The very first family trip I took with the Potter family, Sarah's crew. Sarah flew down or drove separately, so I wound up going just with my future mother-in-law and of the girl I'm dating. We drove from Indianapolis to Atlanta straight through.
I would never do that.
Just the two of us.
That is such a Jeremiah thing to do.
Just the two of us.
I would have driven myself.
You're crazy. Yeah, so that way she has to drive by herself too.
I would have bought her plane ticket first. There's no way. I'm way too awkward and uncomfortable of a person to deal with that.
You're not brave enough to get in the car with your girlfriend's mom and drive 800 miles one way?
No. I'm barely even comfortable enough to do it with you, and I see you every week.
Yeah.
So I know one thing that they do have planned is there's some little Christmas town around St. Louis, and so we're going to go there, and it's got shops and stuff.
If it's Ferguson, pack a gun.
Yeah, you know it. And then Saturday night, I've been looking at, because everybody knows I'm a sports fan, the St. Louis Blues are playing the Chicago Blackhawks, and I've been looking at tickets.
What do you mean looking? You haven't bought them yet?
Not yet. Looking.
What are you waiting on?
It's salty. It's $60 for nosebleeds.
You're not going to have any time. You're going to be at the Christmas Village for the whole time you're out there, probably.
Uber.
He's gonna be watching that stupid little train go around.
Why don't you and I and Paige and Sarah just go to Columbus and watch hockey there?
Because it's probably about the same price for the Blue Jackets.
So you did this thing earlier this week where the three of us have a group chat, and you sent a screenshot of those ticket prices, and then you sent afterwards, and it's like Chris is just trying to get us to talk him into doing it. He wants the motivation to spend the money.
You know how it is. I don't like to spend money on stuff, and so that's why I waited until the Redskins tickets were $19 a piece. I waited a very long time to get that price.
You didn't stay overnight out there, didn't you?
At Maryland?
Yeah.
No, I drove. So I went Sunday morning at 3:00, drove 8 hours, watched the game, drove back 8 hours, and went to work at 7:00.
You are pretty tight.
You caught up on?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm caught up on sleep. I'm just now getting over the sickness.
Wonder what caused that. Scott, what's the most you'll spend on a sporting ticket? You'll go.
What a strange question.
I mean, he's over here worried about $60 tickets. You've been known to travel for sports.
Yes, but I'm lucky enough to be.
You got a connection
with the family, and I don't pay anything for tickets. So,
hey, Scott, we're family.
That it? Yeah, I didn't know that.
Mike, we're family.
I jumped right in there with Scott. Hey, I'm your cousin.
There you go. He's along sometimes. So
You found straight flights out to Nevada?
There are no straight through flights to Nevada, to Reno. Las Vegas, yes. Reno, no.
And Reno is a hell of a distance from Vegas.
Zach Bertram is in the chat. He's asking a question. That is another perk for Patreon subscribers. If you are a Patreon member, then you get all of your questions answered in the chat. And he is saying, Chris, are those tickets for both of you, or are you leaving her with her family?
Well, it's $60 a piece, so if I bought tickets, it'd be $120 because we'd be together, so I'd have to take her.
I figured you'd
I
say
think
that
if
you
she
were
wants to
leaving.
go, you better take her.
Yeah.
No, yeah, she would definitely go with me. She went to the Indy Fuel game with us. And by the way, this Saturday, Indy Fuel, it is the teddy bear toss.
You got your stuffed animal ready?
I wish. I'll be in St. Louis. But teddy bear toss, if you go, make sure you take your teddy bear. It's going to be awesome.
Even I've attended that 3 years ago, probably. So Reno, Nevada. You looking for a winter house out there to watch some more basketball?
Probably not.
No.
But it's a nice place. It's a nice town, a reasonable sized town, and easy to get around. So it was my first time there a few weeks ago. It's a nice trip. Even though they've had snow there already, 3 or 4 inches.
We have too.
They've had 3 or 4 inches a couple times already. So it's a little. It's the elevation, the mountains, like you're talking about Denver, and
they're up. I mean, they're probably at least 4,000 feet in Reno, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're.
It's
a plateau. You can where my family lives. You can look around, and there's mountains all around them, and all 360 degrees. So there's sort of a plateau in the mountains.
I think she said it was pretty much like where they were in Albuquerque. They were up on the high plateaus.
Yeah.
5,000-6,000 feet. So
a little cooler than Albuquerque, much
but it's
further
about
north.
6-7 hour drive from Vegas.
It's way
that's
north.
What's hard to
the
believe.
other corner of the state. Yeah.
So this is your chance to plug Frost Framing. Anything else that we've forgotten that we left out?
No, Frost Framing on Indiana Avenue. So been doing that 10 years. It's fun.
You guys
have
do
a Christmas present from him in the studio here.
There
you guys
go.
do
Last year.
Framing of pictures or drawings or art or
anything
you want.
It's mostly people bringing things in. It's their photographs. It's their posters they bought on vacation. It's their
memorabilia,
shadowbox stuff, jerseys and the like. So it's
how cool does something have to be to make your social media?
To
be unique, to be like the one where it's a highlighter item.
Just anything that's different, I like to put it on there. Just give people ideas. You put it on Facebook, and you think you're stimulating someone else to think of the same thing, and
something they've got sitting in their closet that they that they want to show off. Right,
get it out and hang it on the wall.
Your old Letterman jacket.
There you go.
Your Red for Rob T-shirt. I mean, it could be anything.
Pictures of Jeremiah and Dakota.
You never know.
There you go.
You never know. Maybe someday it'll be canvas or a mural on a building.
What was the address of that framing place?
The Indiana and Main at the corner. Yeah, that's it.
Right next to the law firm.
Right there. Same building. Mr. Sadler.
You got all these buildings, and here you are renting a building for somebody else.
There you go.
What are you doing? Save one of these for yourself,
That was before, but
I've talked till I'm blue in the face and can't get him to move.
I mean, that was.
I don't want them to now because we have them all filled
you
up.
got them filled. You got to buy another one.
They're awful.
I'm saying if you buy that theater, you could have the old furniture store for Frost framing.
Oh, that would be huge.
Barely have to move down the road.
There you go.
Expand into other things.
Yeah, you start tanning leather in there.
Right.
Do it all. Start making parchment paper. I mean, there you could have all kinds of businesses.
Mike, you got anything?
Oh, not a whole lot, but I appreciate you guys having us on and talking a little bit about downtown. And I'm really fired up about how downtown Newcastle's kind of coming back around, and there's talk of a building being remodeled for market rate apartments downtown on Broad Street. Probably within the next year and a half, I would say. So I think that will change things drastically if you get some younger people moving downtown instead of all of us boomers.
Yeah, we don't want the boomers living down here. We gotta. I mean, we want the young millennials.
And I think something like that would increase our chances of having the brewery in the downtown area. If you've got
it's what brings people
young
down.
people walking back and forth, and
honestly, you know, if you get, I did this. I think I talked about this on the show 2 weeks ago. I went to Muncie. Chris and I went to Muncie, and we hit 6 spots in downtown Muncie and spent the entire day.
yeah.
If you get yourself, you know, we've got Twin Lions, we got Primo. You add 2 or 3, you know, tap houses or folks that have more than just Coors Light and Coors Original. You've got some options.
Yeah.
It can actually be a destination spot.
North. We need a 450 North. People travel all over the country to come get beers from 450 North in Columbus, Indiana. Literally all over the country. I'm in multiple craft beer groups on Facebook, and there are people in Maine that will search for specific beers from 450 North in Columbus. It's a huge booming market that's going on right now, and I feel like we are missing out on that portion of the economy.
Do you think there's a time limit on some of this? So is it a fad right now?
Yeah, there's
That's the
definitely a
scary
time limit.
part,
I
too.
think that only the bigger ones will survive. It's
The unique ones. If you can find a reason to be
true.
But it's not just to being a brewery. I think there's always going to be a high-end tap house, whether you brew it or not.
Yeah, how it is going to go is there are certain trends that happen in the beer world. Last summer, it was the New England style IPAs. I'm thinking that this next coming summer is going to be sours. And I think that any brewery that can keep up with those trends is going to stay in business. And the people that fall behind and get good at one thing but can't evolve into the next step, those folks are going to wind up closing.
I think Twin Lions, I'm not a wine drinker, but I go in there and have a beer or two. Mm-hmm. Some of their craft beers, light craft beers like this one. But the atmosphere also helps quite a bit to bring people in just to relax and try a couple different things they never have before. And, you know, we're walking between Primo, the wine bar, and the back porch bar and have a good time downtown now. And you couldn't have done that 5 years ago. So things are definitely progressing.
You got things to do.
In the summertime, 1400 Plaza will be opened up.
That'd be great.
You'll be able to go down there.
And that's what brings people in to stop into little shops. You stop in the juice bar, or you stop in, you know, the more landmark locations you have, the better small businesses are going to do that have a storefront.
Yeah. We need more retail downtown.
Once you have a foot presence.
We had our class reunion back in the end of September, and we were trying to decide what date, and I knew Carl Story was playing at the Arts Park that weekend on Friday. So I said, well, let's gather up around the plaza in the Arts Park on Friday night. We have a couple places. Well, our classmates own Twin Lions and the Back Porch Bar. So that tied in real well, too. So once we got done at the Arts Park, we went to those places, and Carl Story played that weekend from the Face Band, and he played at 2 of our dances when we were in high school. So it's kind of a great weekend downtown. And the people that came from, we had one classmate from the East Coast, and he's been back about every 5 years. And he said this last 5-year change downtown was just absolutely amazing. So,
massive improvement.
Yeah.
Dakota, final thoughts?
First of all, I want to say that we can't forget about Early Bird Diner in downtown Newcastle.
Correct.
It's the best place to get a breakfast in the whole county, I'm going to say.
I'm going to say
It is
that
absolutely
if they
fantastic.
want to really go next level, Start having some Bloody Marys and mimosas.
That's the early bird.
Listen,
That's right.
I am a breakfast connoisseur. I love breakfast and I love craft beer. Breakfast is a morning thing, and I can do it while I'm at work. So, and that is the one leg up it has on craft beer. And early bird is the old school feeling that you get, and it's pretty cheap. They're not a sponsor. I just think they're great. The other thing I want to say is I want to encourage everyone to join the Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty. Next week is the last week that you will have an episode before 2020 if you are not a Patreon member. We are taking the week of Christmas off, and then the next week will be on I think a Wednesday.
Somebody put Christmas in the middle of the week, and it really messed up our December schedule.
So we're taking the week of Christmas off, but our Patreon members will get a special extra long bonus episode that week of us, of the cast members doing a gift exchange. If you want to sign up, even every person at every level, every folk, man,
folk of any kind,
y'all are going to get a special bonus episode. Whatever tier you sign up at, you will get that special gift exchange bonus episode on the week of Christmas.
So on the Christmas theme, you use my final thought to give a shout out to Matt Sousa. You guys may not know who Matt Sousa is, but if you've ever been by his house on South 22nd Street, he has the most ridiculous Christmas decorations that you've ever seen in your life. Incredible house of lights. Not a real big lot, but you roll up and you tune to the radio station and listen to the Christmas music and see it. 963 South 22nd Street. He's going to be featured this weekend on WTHR, NBC Indianapolis. It looks like Carlos Diaz is coming out, and from 5 to 7 on Saturday morning, you're going to see the Sousa house. So they're going to come out there and do a live report from his place. So check that out. Set your DVRs if you don't wake up at 5 a.m. like Chris and Dakota do to go work out. At least set your DVR and
Chris?
check it out.
Who's that? Haven't seen that guy at the gym in a while.
He's watching the Chicago Bears right now.
That's it. We got
that's the
Jets and Baltimore. Is that right?
Mark Ingram just scored for the touchdown, so all I need is the Jets to win for $85.
Ooh, big time parlay. What'd you put on that?
Just $10.
Did you take
$10.
any advice from Chase last week and start sports betting?
Yeah, I've been sports betting for a little while now.
He's been a degenerate ever since. So you took Ingram, who's the
Ravens
running back, but then now you have the Jets
winning,
surprising the world in winning. Mm-hmm. And they're down 7-0.
Yep.
And they got to win straight up.
Yep.
You're screwed. All right.
I thought he was tight.
He's got.
There's very few things, Mike. Very few things.
I lied. That's not Saturday morning. It's Monday morning for Matt Sousa, by the way. So Monday of next week, not Saturday morning. Sleep in on Saturday. Monday from 5 to 7 on WTHR. With that, I think we're done.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at wearelibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to wearelibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.